Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Smite Draft League. It is still playoffs time here. We got a Divine Division matchup coming your way between the Stormcallers and Eclipse. Should be a great one. And to bring you that action, I am DoctahShru, joined again today by Divine. And you know, Divine, we've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Because it's me and you on the cast, I have no doubt this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're not gonna see any of the top gods. No Cherno, no Pele. It's just gonna be off the wall, random stuff. We're gonna see rat supports, all the fun stuff.
Should be a good one, and there's a lot on the line. I mean, this is the
Mhm.
semi-finals for the Divine Division. Both these teams vying for their spot to make it to the finals, and they got a lot of work ahead of them. Whoever does win this set has to go on to fight against the perfect Kingslayers, who have not even dropped a game this season.
Yeah, it's a bad consolation prize. Now that I think about it, that you have to go against the Kingslayers for winning this. But even being a finalist is worthy of doing your best and just trying to win.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, on any given day, any of these teams definitely have the potential to take it to the Kingslayers. I'm both going to be working to get that chance as we hop into picks and bans here for game number one. Right off the bat, Stormcallers just going to take that Ganesh off the board.
Yeah, Ganesh is always a pick that is fine to take off the table. He sort of works well anywhere, and the silence is always going to be something that just shuts down any team's offense. So Athena also a guy that sort of does the same thing, as well as brings a ton of setup. So both smart picks for some callers that they just don't want to deal with.
Yeah, and on the side of Eclipse, the low life is their sub getting brought into that support role, and Stormcallers targeting out that sub, making sure they are unable to play two of the better supports in the league. Rest of the bands coming through rather quickly here. Stormcallers round out their top three with a set taken away, while Eclipse are going to ban out the Chernobog, the Freya, and the Charon, which surprisingly, based on what we were just talking about, Divine, is all pretty standard.
Yeah, pretty standard. Me personally, I'm one of the people that don't believe in Charon. But that's just like that's just the me thing. I just don't think he brings to the table what
Killua's
people
Fury!
think he does. But speaking of what they bring to the table, Pele, a god that is top one, top two right now. You could debate Chernobog's a little bit better of a god, but we've been seeing Pele in every game that you guys have played in your ranked games and in these sets. So really smart first pick from the Stormcallers here.
Yeah, coming out the gates hot there with that lock in of the Pele. Gonna assumedly go to Voltcha's hands in the jungle, but knowing some of the games we cast could be a solo Pele pick. I honestly wouldn't even hate to see that if that is, an option. There is a little bit of flexibility in that pick. On the other side, though, Eclipse gonna lock in the Ola run for themselves. This is gotta go to Cookie on ADC, right?
Yes, I assume the Olorun's going to Cookie. We've seen Olorun mid before, and I don't have to talk about it anymore because Raijin's definitely going to be going to the Rizzler in the mid lane. No speculation here. It's going to be Olorun ADC, Raijin mid, which are some super strong backline picks. I'd like to see what some colors do to sort of combat that. Pele's already a good option at diving these two. They have a tough time getting her off of them. But they're going to
No
need a little more if
mercy!
they want to completely shut them down.
Well, I would say, in my opinion, Ares is that little bit more, just being able
Mhm.
to stick on a backliner and melt them, even going full tank. Ares definitely a good support, but I don't know. Even the fact that it's Pele Ares lock in, which is a crazy top two for Stormcallers. This Eclipse top two picks. I mean, can you imagine getting taunted in by Taiko drums into a sanctified
We
field? That
make
just
war
sounds
so
like
that we
death
may
for
live
anybody that
in
doesn't have
peace.
beats.
Well, you have three gods in Pele, Ares, and Amaterasu with CC immune ultimates that can sort of like get in there. So I do think Stormcallers have done a good job of sort of being able to dive when they need to, but they're gonna have to pick their spots because when they don't have these ultimates, it's gonna be really tough to sort of get away from Olorun and Raijin's damage. And if you can't get
Get to the
away, they're just gonna
Jaka!
blow you up.
Chalk gonna get locked in here, but not for the Stormcallers. They're not gonna pick up their namesake god. Instead, Eclipse are gonna steal that one away and lock it in for themselves. You would assume going into the hands of the casual one in that solo lane.
Mhm.
An interesting pick that's kind of been a little bit more, on the rise, a bit of a pocket pick right now. How do you feel about the chalk specifically also into this Amaterasu?
I see Shock as like a budget Jorm. He sort of he does what Jorm does in lane, but sort of doesn't bring that sort of like extra mobility from like the Jorm ultimate into like those team fights, but has like that same kind of disruption, the same sort of like lane bully. So I like, if you're more comfortable on Shock, I think it's enough to pick him over the Jorm. So I like the idea from Casual One because you've seen him play it or go to it before.
Well, both of these teams hyper focusing on one role with their second set of bans. Stormcaller is going to target the jungle since they have that Pele locked in to take off the Mercury and the Kali, while Eclipse going to get rid of a couple ADCs in the Hachiman and the Xibalanque. But what is going to get locked in is the Geb for the Eclipse. This feels pretty good into the dive that the Stormcallers have, at least to me.
Yeah, Gab's gonna be really good at sort of maybe peeling an Ares ultimate or cleansing someone from an Amma stun or just getting like being able to live Pele damage, which is something every character in the game struggles with right now. So I think that Gab's a really good defensive choice from Eclipse, which is what they're gonna need to keep this Oloran Raijin alive.
Warriors, to
So
battle!
much engage and setup from this Stormcaller squad is just going to get even more intense with both the Agni and the On Her locked in. Two backliners that have setup and CC in their own kits, and you match that up with the rest of what they've locked in. This is a scary Stormcallers draft.
Yeah, it is aggression, aggression, aggression. Outside of maybe Amma is going to struggle a little bit in lane against Shock, in terms of just, bullying him, not being able to bully him.
A
Every
mighty
member of the
sword!
Stormcallers, God choices are just, about getting in there and getting things done. And Ao Kwang, last pick from Eclipse. This is not what I expected. I expected them to pick something a little more defensive and physical because, they're already heavy magical with Oloran Raijin. But this Ao Kwang last pick is definitely really interesting from Eclipse.
Yeah, that's a good point. They are 4 magical right now. Chalk going to be the only one bringing any sort of physical damage. Is that is that going to make it easier or harder for the Stormcallers to kind of build their defense?
It's tough because Shock's a god whose damage you do have to respect, but if Stormcallers do respect it and their tanks only build like one physical defense item, they should be fine. If anyone who opts to go into like a more defensive build is just typically just going to be the Amma and the Ares. As long as they get one physical defense item, they'll be fine. If you get a solve for your team, they'll be fine. But you do have to respect Shock's damage. But if they do respect it, then they just have to build magical for the rest of it. So it is going to be tough. But Raijin, Oloran, Ao Kwang, these guys do so much magical damage. And even with an execute in the mix, it might not matter if they play their cards right.
Good drafts on either side. I, for one, am excited to see how this plays out. So I think we should just hop into game 1 here between the Stormcallers and Eclipse and see who goes up ahead in this semi-division set. Welcome into game 1, everybody, in this Divine Division semifinals matchup. And we've talked a lot about the picks that have locked in, here for both sides, Divine, but I haven't asked you the hard question yet. So who do you think came out ahead in this first game? Who's gonna go up 1-0 here?
I think Stormcallers, I think they have a clear game plan with their comp and they have the tools to execute it with how we've seen them play. Also, Deb forgot a recipe, so that is part of my analysis as well. Only he forgot the recipe, so his head's not in the game. Blah blah blah. You can sort of analyze the rest yourselves. Yeah, Stormcallers are locked in. They're all ready, and I think that clear game plan is something that's all Smite players struggle against. This sort of like hyper aggression early.
Yeah, definitely going to need to get the ball rolling are Stormcallers. But on the other side, similar story, at least for the casual one on the chalk. You mentioned already such an early game bully, and with Ama's kind of weakness in the laning phase in general, do you expect to see Eclipse kind of play through that right side of the map?
That's what I'd like to see. I think you could really pressure out Amaterasu because they typically go sort of like a hybrid-y type build. You can already see they have like the Death's Toll. They're going, tier 1 shield. Shock is definitely going to be tankier and deal more damage. You can already see they have pressure. If Ao Kuang comes over there early, Ama's not going to have magical defense just yet. So they can look for a lot of like early kills, executes, which will just help the Ao Kuang scale and sort of Eclipse keep themselves ahead, which is what they need to do.
Definitely going to be something to keep an eye on, as already Voltcha makes an early rotation towards this left side of the map just to help secure that shield buff and get a little extra farm for this Stormcaller squad. But here's what you were just asking for: a rotation in from the Ao Kuang towards the right side. Doesn't look like they're going to get too aggressive, but there was a small rotation as well from the Rizzler on the Raijin. They might be that the Eclipse are definitely wanting to play through this right side.
Yeah, really risky. I saw Cairo sort of dash the wave as the Ao Kuang was walking away. I was like, oh, if he doubled back, that would have been real scary. But he's going to be out of danger for now. Yeah, I think this is sort of the only one that has like in an unfortunate situation is Cairo on the Ama, because they have to go physical defense first. You just have to respect Shock's damage. Everyone they're dealing with in the mid to late game is going to be magical. All the damage they care about. So this early game is going to be the roughest, which is already where Amaterasu as a god struggles. And that's exactly what they're looking to do, is they're all on the blue.
Eclipse is prioritizing this right side so much they will get a successful invade of that first respawning blue buff off. Not much Voltcha could do there in basically a 1v3 scenario. So successful and good rotations out of Eclipse there. Pull themselves just a little bit ahead, at least in the solo lane. On the left side, Lowlife looking to try and maybe be annoying on this buff, but isn't able to actually pick it up and could be in a lot of trouble now. Gets hit by the changed, impaled backwards. And Geb is tanky, but the Stone Shield has run out. The body blocks are good. And oh no, this might just be first blood. Is the rollout enough? It is not. GettinCawky on her will pick himself up. First blood. They're getting a little bit aggressive on the Ola run as well, and his health bar is absolutely deleted. Voltcha comes over and takes the kill, and that's a quick 2-0 on the left side. Stormcallers just don't care about what Cairo's doing over here in right.
Eclipse got a little too aggressive on the left side. At first I thought it was smart, because everyone's sort of like pushing on the right side, so you have the freedom to walk into the jungle. But Stormcallers were They did their due diligence. They pulled the buff far enough away to where if you overextend, they can just kill you. And that's exactly what Lowlife did. He overextended, he died. I think Joe was in an okay position. Voltcha was just, sort of proactive and got over there quicker than, Nene did, and was able to clean up that kill. But, I think they just should have backed off as soon as they saw that, Stormcallers were pulling their purple buff closer to their tower.
Well, YeetOnDaNaeNae is going to get some pressure in the mid lane to try and even things out here, but not too much is going to come from that. Hasn't even graded that first item yet, still sitting on the lost artifact. Where do you expect to see this Ao Kuang build go to try and keep up with what Voltcha's going to be able to produce on this Pele?
Personally, I like the full power Ao Kuang. Sometimes in rank you'll see people go some rings. They'll go like, Telkines or Cyclopean. I think going do more first, for that extra movement speed, and then going into like a full power build. You have enough attack speed in kits, and then that's the build that's really going to one-shot people. Is hold that Doc alone is pretty low, but Huntor gets knocked to that tower. Oh,
that's a lot of damage onto GettinCawky, and he will end up falling, but slowing down time is not enough to stop Voltcha, who will find a kill for themselves, but they are low now. Gets hit by the slow execute threshold reached, and the execute is there. So that is 2 picks going the way of Eclipse, but it is answered back by a kill onto 1. So Stormcallers still have themselves the kill lead, but that is exactly what you imagine Eclipse had to be looking to do.
Yes, they need to get these kills and sort of not let the early 2 kills from Stormcallers get themselves in a bad spot, and bad spot is exactly what happens to Huntor. the Rizzler just rizzes all over him, and you know, he just stepped up too far after that fight.
Yeah, that's just Raijin things right there. So much damage at any given point with those taiko drums. Voltcha will make sure that those buffs at least are secured. But it seems like, you know, at first it looked like Stormcallers might have been able to just use this early aggression to start to run away with it, but Eclipse are showing they can take these fights as well.
Yeah, I mean, we talked so much about Stormcallers' early aggression that I really didn't get to mention Eclipse have Raijin. Raijin is a god that isn't necessarily an early aggressive god, but is a god that is good at all stages of the game, including the early, where, you know, he could just back off and looks like Kama's getting really low.
That was a lot committed onto Cairo, who will end up falling, but around the blue buff, it's the Rizzler who's in trouble, and Voltcha will at least trade one back in their favor. Joe gets himself a solo kill over in the left lane all the while, so the kill lead ticking towards Eclipse. That was a 2-for-1 across the map, but I still feel like with Rizzler being the one to fall, it makes things fairly even.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see in the gold difference that things really have evened up. XP difference a little ahead on Eclipse's side, which doesn't really bode well for Stormcallers. You know, I think a lot of their characters get a little worse as the game goes on. So that there's more aggression on the left side of the map.
Joe has to use the beads and the sanctified field just to barely live through that engagement there. That was the no escape coming out from the Ares. Low life in deep again on his own. Geb, is he tanky enough to make it out here? No. GettinCawky will once again eat the stone god and make sure that another kill goes the way of the Stormcallers.
Yeah, low life just throwing their life away at any opportunity. It just seems like they sort of walk up fearless, you know, expecting their team to maybe help, or maybe they just think they're scouting. But, you know, a couple more picks like that, especially once we get to, you know, 20, 30, maybe even 40 minutes in this game, could mean just a defeat. You know, we've seen plenty of Smite games just turn the opposite way from, you know, maybe like a mispositioning like that. So I do think they have to sort of like straighten up. Still no recipe, by the way, from the cap. But yeah, I do think low life just needs to sort of get their head sort of into the game.
At what point is it too late to just get a recipe in general? I feel like as a support, the math has got to be different than everybody else in the lobby. But is there a point where it's just too late?
If you're buying your 6th item, that's when I would say it's too late. But you know, it's never bad. It doesn't hurt. It's free. Maybe it won't stack. If you bought it right now, it might not stack for the rest of the game. But it wouldn't hurt to have. You know what happens if he gets super behind and he sort of can't finish his build anyway? Then it'll stack. You know, and it's better than not having an item in that 6th slot. I just think there's never a bad time. There's never like 15 minutes I shouldn't, you know, buy the recipe. Even buying it and then going back like a minute or two later, once you have the gold and getting another item, it's still not like worthless, you know.
Yeah, I mean, so anything that's free and gives value's gotta feel good. What's not free though is this damage onto Joe. He is able to make it out with a sliver of HP though, thanks to that sanctified field. I thought for sure that Voltcha was gonna eat up another kill, but not gonna happen over here on the left side. But there are still 3, make that 4 strong, pushing towards this tier 1 tower, and it looks like it might not be completely free. A rotation in from some members of Eclipse now, but it's tier 1 tower low. They're not going to be able to pick it up though, and Voltcha might actually be in trouble. Cairo gets a solo kill onto the chalk on the right hand side, but Rizzler here on your screen will pick up the first kill of this engagement, and YeetOnDaNaeNae will execute another. The chase is on for GettinCawky, who takes so much damage, and he will end up falling to the Rizzler on this Raijin. He uses the taiko drums to make sure that no one else can take that fight. A good rotation and turn of events for Eclipse, and they will add to it by pulling this first gold fury of the game just 10 minutes in. And it seems like it's just gonna be Huntor who's anywhere nearby to try and maybe steal this one away, but nothing that he can do. Eclipse will pick up that gold fury for themselves.
And Stormcallers just on different pages there. you can see Voltcha wanted that tower, but didn't want to obviously tank the tower. He wanted hard killer to do that, but he walks in, minions take, or he takes aggro, he walks out, minions take aggro, he sort of like dances around and walks in again, minions die, and he ends up taking 3 or 4 tower shots, and the rest of them, Eclipse were already on their way, and then he takes all these tower shots, gets 1 shot by Raijin, and then the rest of the fight just handedly goes over to Eclipse because, they didn't have Voltcha in there at all. I just think they had to communicate, Ares, you tank, we take the tower, or communicate, hey, let's all leave together.
Yeah, just a little bit of a lack of communication there between their team allows Eclipse to pull themselves a little bit of a lead right around the 2,000, make that 1,100. Don't try to math live on air here. Lead, but it's a lead all the same. We're 12 minutes in now. The beacon is about to spawn, and Eclipse might be looking to try and push that lead even further around what could be a beacon fight.
So I agree that it's a small lead, and hold that thought as everyone's going in right now.
They are indeed. This fight is breaking out. The Sanctified Field comes out, and where did Voltcha go? Deleted by the Rizzler. No Escape pulls in 1, but immediately gets executed. That's 2 quick kills going the way of Eclipse, and they are the ones charging up on the beacon. YeetOnDaNaeNae thinks about getting more aggressive, but just make sure that Cairo can't step up towards that beacon. That does eventually go the way of Eclipse, who are kind of just grouping now and able to take, it seems like, whatever they want on the map.
Yeah, I was a little worried for Rizzler stepping up a little too far here, but he's got his entire team behind him, so shouldn't be worried about too much. But I was gonna say Eclipse's lead isn't too big, like you're saying, 1,100, but their gods are all sort of better in the later stages of the game. You've got maybe not Shock, definitely isn't better than Amma, but Raijin certainly does well in Agni the game. Kwong certainly does some more damage. Pele, once it gets super late. Olorun, Gab, these are guys that all sort of scale really well. And Stormcallers, they have Pele, they have Amma, they have Agni, but Anhur's a guy that sort of falls off because, this passive pen just isn't as effective. And Ares is just a no escape bot, and you saw what happened in the last fight. He instantly got executed after pulling one in. Voltcha's going a little aggressive on the left side.
It has some support, though. Blinks expended here by the Stormcallers as they want something on this left side. Unable to find it, though. What a pillar does slow things down. Actually, it was his teammate's pillar accidentally getting in the way there. Caught me off guard, but no harm, no foul. Both members of the Stormcallers over there in the left lane able to back away without losing their life. But Eclipse definitely seem like they don't care about the aggression from the Stormcallers anymore.
Which is good. They really should sort of take, where they are and sort of run with it. I mean, you have the lead. You have gods that are scaling better. It's 15 minutes in. You've got the first beacon. You've got the first Gold Fury. All you have to do, and at this point, if you're Eclipse, is keep doing what you're doing. They're looking. It looks like they're hovering around Pyro here. You see Low Life, sort of staring at it. They just need to worry about this Amaterasu. I think they did get a solo kill during one of the fights, that was on the left side of the map. Looks like they are showing some presence, but it looks like they're typically just looking for the Pyro or some picks in the jungle here.
Yeah, a little fight could be brewing as YeetOnDaNaeNae gets hit by the chains and starts getting burned down. No escape going to be used, but Beads is available. And now it's actually Voltcha's the one in trouble. Another good execute coming out of this Kwong. And Eclipse are not done yet. That's HardKiller under a lot of pressure, and it's a double kill for the jungler of Eclipse as they just take whatever they want again and again. But GettinCawky wants a fight over here by the green buff. Will not be able to find anything and will back up, but his presence enough combined with Huntor, Eclipse, they don't pick up the Pyromancer.
I think the Primal Fury might be the better play. It does give more gold and does sort of set up for the Fire Giant that you're eventually looking for, especially when you're in a dominant position like this for Eclipse. I think you can afford to just go right over to that Primal Fury and get the Pyro later. GettinCawky might be looking for a steal here. He's got to hop in with him.
Couple steal attempts. That's a lot of damage onto the backliners, and it's enough to make Eclipse step off of the Fury. And now more members of Stormcallers are here. They might want to take this fight, but it seems like Getting Eclipse off the objective was enough. They dealt a lot of damage. It doesn't look like Eclipse is going to be able to re-engage around this Fury, and they're just going to be forced to reset. Good kind of counter engage there coming out of Stormcallers.
Really well. I mean, Agni, a god that is so good at getting a lot of damage off from so far away, you know, and that safety is really tough to sort of deal with, especially around objectives, as well as, you know, GettinCawky sort of on the opposite side. You have to sort of choose which one you want to, you know, hard engage on top of someone taking the Primal Fury. It's just too much damage to sort of deal with all those at once. So smarter than to back off. Plus with Eclipse, you know, you're really looking to sort of, you know, inch your lead forward. And not sort of getting yourself in a position where it's completely taken from you, you know, by one sort of misplay.
Definitely slow and steady wins the race. If you are Eclipse here, just wanting to scale in towards that late game, and they're doing a fair job of it so far. As you mentioned, they still have a little lead over the Stormcallers, which they're just, you know, cultivating for the time being to continue deeper into this game. I mean, 17 minutes in, you know, we're not quite at the time period where I would be expecting teams to look towards the Fire Giant. But once we get to that point where the most important objective on the map is on that right side, do you feel like there's a team that has an advantage around, you know, kind of grouped up fights like that?
So, Stormcallers do have a Heartward amulet. It was the first item that HardKiller went towards. Incredibly smart purchase. You know, all of Eclipse damage is essentially magical. So that's what I would give the advantage to if they sort of, you know, group and, you know, take a 5v5 around fire. But I think the way Eclipse has been playing and sort of like communicating just better than Stormcallers, I feel like they, as sort of players, have had the advantage in every fight, and that's shown with them about to get their, you know, second Primal.
They are looking for it. Blink in, and the Ares ult will pull in one, but the Sanctified Field is going to slow things down. Kairo's the first one to fall, and a blink in from the Ao Kuang. The execute not going to be enough because of the beads, but he still falls. GettinCawky does to YeetOnDaNaeNae. Now the chase could be on for more. Gold Fury forgotten about for the moment. Couple kills going the way of Eclipse is certainly going to help them out, and they're not done yet. That's a lot of damage on to multiple members here under the tier 1 and tier 2 tower, and Voltcha will be the next to fall on the side of the Stormcallers. A clean 3-for-0 in favor of Eclipse, and this Gold Fury should be completely free off the back of that.
Oh, and Huntor's on a ward. He has no idea. He's got to get out of there, man. The Ao Kuang is a little too close for comfort. Okay, and they both back off, and everyone lives to see another day. But really smart fight from Eclipse. You know, you can tell that they're just like on a different level in terms of communication than Stormcallers. At least in this game, you can just see that they group up, they stay together, they pick their targets correctly. You always see someone get low, and then Ao Kuang immediately go for the execute. They got the on her beads. He leapt away, and then he killed him with the dragons, which was a really cool play to see, but also really bad if you're looking at GettinCawky, because he doesn't have the beads up and he had to die, you know, which really just sets up like these next fights, which is probably going to be over the Pyromancer, or if like the beacon spawns within the next, you know, 80 seconds, which I don't think it does, so it'll probably be around the Pyromancer. But yeah, Eclipse just playing, you know, essentially better together than Stormcallers are.
Seems like Eclipse are just favoring taking these fights instead of, you know, kind of 50-50ing or trying to out-secure on the objectives. And it's working for them over and over here. They're up 15-6 in kills. They're up around 3k in gold, which might be extended if they decide to pick up this Pyromancer, but they again could look to just fight, as Cairo is the one trying to engage here, but a good stone shield will make sure no stun comes out of that Amaterasu ult. But now it's low life coming in, getting a good couple stuns. The no escape's gonna pull in, or attempt to pull in some, but look at the damage coming out of this Eclipse squad. At least Cairo does pick up one in their favor, but YeetOnDaNaeNae already has one in this fight, is gonna look for the second one and will find it. Another double kill for the Ao Kuang, who's gonna look to extend this even further. Cairo tanking up on the Ama to back up, but GettinCawky is trying to turn some damage around the Sanctified Field. Not quite gonna catch the members of the Stormcallers that he would have wanted, but still another fight that goes the way of Eclipse. At least this time is answered back by a pick on the Rizzler.
Rizzler's the best pick that you could get here as Cairo goes back in.
Still wants more here, and Low Life will pay for that with his own life. It is trading out support for a couple kills and a Pyromancer. I assume Eclipse is okay with that.
I would trade my support for a Pyromancer any day of the week, every minute, any time. And Low Life traded his own life earlier to maybe get a purple buff, so I think he's okay with that too. I think Eclipse, I mean, obviously that pick at the end, you know, we could laugh about, but they get everything they wanted. They got the Pyromancer, they got a couple of picks. Tougher Roaster to go down. I think it was a pretty high bounty just from him being 5-1 and you know being so far ahead of Huntor. I think he was 3 or 4 levels up at one point, but I think Eclipse is totally fine with the outcome of that. Even though it was a 2-2 trade to get the Pyromancer, you know, they're all spawned now. I assume the next objective they're looking for is Gold Fury, then Beacon, probably in the opposite order, and then if they get those, then they'll maybe look to this Fire Giant. But Stormcallers showed in that fight that they're not completely out of this, and that they can get these picks if Eclipse sort of step up too far, or if they, you know, sort of make their mistakes or use things too early. You know, I think they really can put themselves in a position to where Stormcallers can sort of retake this game over if they end up giving up this Beacon or this Gold Fury.
22 minutes in, the gold lead around 3,400 in favor of Eclipse, but it's that experience lead that draws my eyes. You know, experience doesn't last forever in terms of a lead, right? Because you can only hit 20 once, but as of right now, there's a pretty decent experience lead in a few kind of sections of Eclipse here. A level in the jungle, 3 levels in the mid lane, a level in support, as well as a level in ADC. It's just gonna make it harder for the Stormcallers to step up to this next Fury as it respawns. And as of right now, it's just Voltcha, who might not even make it to the pit in time. In fact, won't even attempt to. It's another Fury going the way of Eclipse, but Stormcallers, they might pull this Fire Giant and try to sneak one out from underneath. I have to agree. I think this is a great play. Fire Giant's getting burned down to half HP, but Eclipse now are aware of it and are on a mission, a blink in from Low Life to try and stop this. The Fire Giant is very low as the fight continues. Either team could look to try and continue to burn this, and it seems like that's what Stormcallers is wanting to do. Good zoning. Voltcha pays for it with his life, but Low Life will fall to GettinCawky, and Stormcallers trade out their jungler for a Fire Giant here at the 23 minutes mark, and they'll pick up YeetOnDaNaeNae as well. That's 2 picks going their way in this team fight. This is huge for the Stormcallers, and they're looking for more. The Sanctified Field going to be used in the background, but Rizzler is trying to win this 1v1 against GettinCawky. Neither might end up falling there, but at least Joe took Fire Giant off another member of the Stormcallers. I mean, is that worth it for the Stormcallers even after all of that?
100%. I think Eclipse were starting to run away with the game. If they contest Gold Theory, they all die. And if they sort of let Eclipse get a setup around Fire and they take a 5v5, the fight most likely goes the same way every other fight has gone, which is in Eclipse's favor. If they sneak this Fire Giant, or in this case what happened, they start the Fire Giant and they have this like weird scrappy fight around it, goes 2-2 and Eclipse 50-50 and get the Fire. Now they're in a position where they can sort of get themselves back into the game, get themselves a commanding, not lead, but sort of like commandingly back into the game. They're gonna hit 20 by the time Fire goes away, and they'll be on even ground. And they have a really good chance of winning, and way better than their chances of winning a traditional 5v5 on the Fire Giant.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I feel like this is huge for the Stormcallers, and I mean, in the Season of Celebration, we've seen also often that early, mid-game, they're important, they're impactful, you can win games off of that, but once, you know, you get to a certain part in the late game, and it doesn't matter what happened for the first 30, 40 minutes of the game. It's one fight, one critical moment can decide the outcome of the game, and I feel like, you know, Stormcallers just allowed themselves to maybe get closer to that point where the lead that Eclipse have won't really mean anything. Do you just want to see them farm? Is that all they should be doing right now? Or should they be like trying to tower sweep with this Fire Giant? I mean, it is on GettinCawky.
You should just try to farm. I mean, not to understate the play at all, that is a play that could potentially be the difference between Stormcallers making the finals and not making the finals. So it really heads up for them that at this point, you just want to farm, get yourselves in a position where the next 5v5 is even between these two teams. That's what you want if you're Stormcallers, because you've sort of been on the back foot for the entirety of the game. So just farm. If an opportunity presents itself, Low Life steps too far ahead, Joe steps too far somewhere, kill him, get your picks where you can, but you really just want to even up the game at this point.
Well, the game is a little more even than it was just a few moments ago. Right around 2,000 or so gold in the lead are Eclipse. Seems like the Stormcallers have been able to pull themselves back in. As we've been talking about this whole time, the next Fury is due to spawn here in the next 20 seconds. And already we can see both teams kind of grouping on this left side of the map. Do you feel like either team has an advantage now with the current game state around this Fury?
It's close. I think Stormcallers have had a good job of not getting too far behind in gold. I mean, it looks like both teams are pretty even in items. Fire Giant and a couple members of Stormcallers still. That'll be going away, pretty soon. But I think that I would still go in favor of Eclipse. Just the way they've been playing has been really good. Yeah, it looks like Stormcallers aren't even going to step up to it. They're just going to let Eclipse get it. But yeah, I think if Eclipse overextends here, I think Stormcallers can still win it, but I would give the slight edge to Eclipse.
Well, we saw Cairo on the split push duty for a bit there at the beginning of that kind of Fury spawning, but it was answered by TheCasualOne backing and making sure that Phoenix did not go down for free. That could be an avenue where Stormcallers try to push things, as Voltcha has been caught out here and takes a lot of damage. Good, no escape though, pulls back 2, and now it's YeetOnDaNaeNae actually who falls to killer, and this could be huge for Stormcallers, but there's a lot of damage coming out of Rizzler right now, and on the run are many members of the Stormcallers. Rizzler will get one, and he's looking for more. HardKiller trying to make it out of this fight, but it's a double kill for the Raijin, immediately answering back the pick that this Stormcallers team had gotten for themselves, and a 2-for-1 here 20 minutes into the game. That could spell a lot of trouble for the Stormcallers.
And trouble is what they get, and Eclipse is looking for much more. They're diving into this tier 2 tower. They're going to get it. It looks like they're going to back off. And actually, no, they're going in for more.
Cairo takes a lot of damage. Low Life jumps underneath the Phoenix, but takes a lot of damage themselves. The Geb, though, able to just barely make it out of there with a sliver of HP. Those Agni bombs hurt.
Yeah, Huntor doing a ton of damage. Actually, top damage outside of Shock in the game right now. You tell they've really been doing a good job of sort of like just outputting a ton of damage in an area, hitting a ton of enemies from a safe place. You don't see any kills, from them, and you see like 7 kills from the Rizzler. So you might look at that and say like, oh, Rizzler's doing much more damage, but actually, just the way Hunter's played in position has been good. Just really unfortunate in the kill department in that place. Rizzler sort of picking his spots a little better.
This next Fire Giant has respawned, and in just 30 seconds, it will tick over to its enhanced form. Going to be even more important for both of these teams to want to pick it up. Pyromancer is also available and on the map right now. YeetOnDaNaeNae takes a little bit of poke in the mid lane, but is safe enough to make it out. This is a critical moment in this game here. At least to me, it kind of feels like whoever can win this next engagement is going to set themselves up well for this game.
If the engagement's over the Pyromancer, you set yourself up for fire. If the engagement's over fire, you get an EFG, which gives you a pretty good chance of winning the game. It looks like Stormcallers are trying to sneak this beacon, and I don't even know if Eclipse care.
Yeah, that seems like they're going to look towards the Pyromancer or maybe some kind of exposed members of the Stormcallers, but everybody's able to back away. Pyromancer still stands, and that's just a free beacon going the way of the Stormcallers. They're able to grab that for themselves. TheCasualOne takes a lot of damage on the chalk, has the healing as well as the upgraded teleport, so we'll be able to get back into this should the poke damage be too much. But it seems like we're at that phase of the game. Put your tap shoes on. We are ready to dance around this Fire Giant. Could be a short dance, could be one of those 25-minuters, but Lowlife's gonna look to try and make it a short one. Blinks in, misses the Cataclysm, but now HardKiller will pull in one, and this fight kicks off over here. Tycho Drums does a lot of damage from the Rizzler, but there's a lot of low health bars, and Rizzler will pick up the first kill of this engagement. YeetOnDaNaeNae will grab one for himself as well, and Voltcha and HardKiller forced to retreat, but are they going to be able to make it out? Blink in from YeetOnDaNaeNae, gets himself a double kill, and it's a double kill for the Rizzler as well as he picks up Huntor. And I blinked, and Voltcha's the only one left alive for the Stormcallers, and this EFG is just going to go the way of Eclipse.
Eclipse did such a good job of picking their targets and going on to, sort of like objectively the right targets. I think Stormcallers did a good job. They got, CasualOne and Lowlife really low, but they weren't able to secure the kills. So those are tanks. You know what I mean? Eclipse, they sort of just, they jumped onto the Hunter, they jumped on who died first, then they jumped on to GettinCawky. Or sorry, opposite order. They jumped on to GettinCawky, who died first, and Hunter. And then, you got these tanks, Chiron and HardKiller, standing there with no damage dealers, and they're just going to go down afterwards. Voltcha makes it out barely off the back of a good knockup on the Kong that sort of stops his aggression. But, Eclipse are sort of just all over when it comes to, picking the right targets and working together as a team, which is what we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah, this is Eclipse firing on all cylinders right now. EFG around the waists of all 5 members. Oni waves about to be pouring down all 3 lanes. And already the aggression, GettinCawky, well-timed jump to avoid that knockback that might have cost him his life there on the On-Her. I mean, how good are Stormcallers' chances here on this siege defense?
I think your chances are, you have good characters that are good at defenses on her. Just that pillar creating an instant slow field, and then you have Agni, who can sort of throw so much damage from inside your fountain essentially. That you really do have a tough time sieging into these gods. But Eclipse are 10k lead. They have EFG. Like, how hard of a time can these 2 gods create? I really think if there is going to be some sort of defense, it's going to be on the back of Hunter. Still has top damage in the game even after that fight, and well, that thought is things are starting right now.
CasualOne gets a good all off, and Rizzler will follow up on that setup, getting a pick onto Voltcha. That's huge for Eclipse as they march in towards this left side Phoenix. That's a double kill, or just a kill, excuse me, for YeetOnDaNaeNae. The left side bird is deleted, and walking forward are the remaining members of Eclipse to try and put an end to this game. But that's a lot of damage, and GettinCawky will turn at least one back around towards the Stormcallers as now Eclipse retreat at least a little bit. A triple stun. Hunter is doing everything he can on this defense right now. They do lose the chalk, but Eclipse get that all-important left side bird and are able to walk away.
I can't blame Eclipse for that one. I thought that was a good end call too, and then Hunter hits 2 back-to-back triple stuns and shuts that down right there. I think that's Hunter's the guy they really have to deal with before they can end the game, which isn't really too difficult for Eclipse, but they just sort of have to get themselves on it. Voltcha sort of gets a little too aggressive. If you're Stormcallers right now, any fight you want to take has to be under a Titan, a Phoenix, some sort of objective that's going to give you sort of take up the space in between the lead Eclipse has. Anything that's going to give you any sort of advantage is what you need right now. And I think he just sort of got a little overzealous and jumped onto the Phoenix too fast and got instant for it.
Yeah, that unofficial 6th man is 100% what the Stormcallers are going to be needing here to try and hold this off, because yes, the Fire Giant was stripped off of the solo laner. CasualOne not going to have that. The remaining 4 members still have EFG. It is looking like it's about to actually fall off here relatively shortly as I'm saying that, but they do get the tier 1 in solo and are just going to pick up this beacon. I don't imagine they push anything further with this current Fire Giant, do you?
I don't think so. I think they'll use it to leverage the beacon and sort of ward around the fire pit for when the next fire spawns. Maybe they'll get pyro before it goes away, but I don't think there'll be another 5v5 while this fire is still active. So nothing the Stormcallers have to really worry about, unless it ends up leading to another EFG for Eclipse, which would surely make it, an easy way to end up the game. You see both teams sort of getting around the Pyromancer. Eclipse are really just going to take it here. Stormcallers, right now they're really just showing face just to show that you can't, if you're Stormcallers, you just want to bait Eclipse into sort of starting the Fire Giant while you're all there and sort of making it so they can't just commit to it. They have to be worried about Stormcallers being there, but they know Ama's in left lane and really has no way to get there. So, they sort of have to speed up and sort of make this a 5v5. Ama's got to get over there.
Well, GettinCawky's walking the wrong direction right now. Going to pick up the, oracles for this next Fury that's going to spawn. Fire Giant is back on the map.
Oh.
And Stormcallers might just decide to give up the EFG to pick up a Primal Fury. Seems like it might be the call because no one from the Stormcallers is on this right side of the map, and this next EFG is free for Eclipse. I don't know. I find myself kind of scratching my head here at this call out of the Stormcallers.
Yeah, you got me. You gotta call a spade a spade. That's not worth it all. I don't think you ever give up Fire Giant for, especially an Enhanced Fire Giant. 37 minutes into the game, you still have a fighting chance to sort of take a 5v5 there for a Primal Fury. It's not like they're setting up for the next Fire Giant. Eclipse isn't gonna let that happen with this one. And Stormcallers, they have to play this defense so well to sort of fight into this, and other members are already low.
Low life is low as well, though, and that middle Phoenix hasn't taken any damage.
No.
Actually, the Geb just falls. GettinCawky will pick up that kill. That's a good defense so far out of the Stormcallers. The left side bird has respawned as well, and now Eclipse find themselves in a position with only 4 members standing, 3 birds to beat down. I don't know how Stormcallers just did that, but it seems like they've at least slowed things down for now, and unless Pyro gets caught out here, and that's a lot of damage out of the Rizzler. This Ama is not very tanky in front of this mage from Eclipse, who gets the solo kill onto the Amaterasu. And that will at least even things out a little bit. All the while, you can see that YeetOnDaNaeNae is in a 1v1 against Voltcha on that right side bird, and they're going to look to try and take this left side Phoenix. In goes TheCasualOne, who's taken quite a bit of chunk, but they have the Sanctified Field, and they have Rizzler. Huntor is gone. That's a huge pick as Voltcha loses out as well to YeetOnDaNaeNae. The bird falls, and now again it seems like Eclipse are going for the end call, but this time they have even more damage. GettinCawky is gone. A triple kill for the Ao Kuang, and the Titan falls. Eclipse go up 1-0. The end of that one caught me off guard a few different ways. I just giving up the Fire Giant, but then defending, but then it didn't work. What happened there?
I don't even know where to start. I mean, giving up fire was a bad play. I just think you have to just say it like it is. But then Low Life throws this. I made a joke when Low Life gave up First Blood. I was like, oh well, if he does that at 40 minutes, that's curtains. He did,
Yeah.
but then I guess all of Eclipse, they expected them to just walk away because Cairo walks right up the left lane by himself, and then he just gets rizzed on, and then he's dead, and then it's a 4v4 with EFG, and the rest of them go by the wayside as well, and it's a free end. It's sort of scratching my head back and forth. I mean, it is semifinals of SDL. You have to nerves take into effect. These are all decisions that can, make or break your finals chances. So I'm not. If I was in this position, I'd be panicking the whole time. I wouldn't make any good decisions as well. But I'm definitely scratching my head, just sort of looking at sort of the thought process behind some of these.
Yeah, it's so easier to notice calls
Yeah.
like that when we have the bird's eye view. We're looking down at everything and don't have any of the nerves or the intensity of the set. 100% get what you mean. It just didn't didn't work out for the Stormcallers there. Ended up dropping, and dropping game one anyway. They still have plenty of chances in this set to kind of turn things around. And I feel like, before we hop into picks and bans for game two, I feel like you've got to look at some pick that got through on the side of Eclipse. I don't know if it's the Ao Kuang, if it's the Raijin, because both seemed unstoppable. Is it just both? Do you just not let either through?
I think you have to take away the Raijin. I just think Rizzler played too well on it. Um, and I think I would have liked to see more from Voltcha and Pele. Pele, my opinion, second best guy in the game behind Chirotonsor, who should be, first banned every game. You really didn't see her do too much in the early game. Got a couple of kills, but was never really super ahead of a guy like Ao Kuang, who you can really abuse. How sort of weak they are in the early stages of the game. I think if Volt's gonna go for a pick like this, he's got to be able to do more in the early game, or just take the Pele off the table.
Yeah, definitely. Pele is such an impactful god. I definitely agree with that mindset. I mean, assuming that Stormcallers are first pick here in game number two, do you think they just ban it away, or do you maybe choose to take that second pick and leave it open? Like, what's the play here for Stormcallers to kind of turn things around?
Well, it's weird because I don't think they were out of that game. I think once low life goes down, I think if you sort of just play like those last 30 seconds a little better, you don't get, Cairo doesn't get picked. You're still in that game. I think it came down to such minute sort of differences in the later stages of the game that I just think you do a better job of picking guys that can sort of compete in that stage of the game. And if you're not going to, and you're going to pick more aggressive gods again, just sort of execute your game plan, of trying to win earlier.
Well, one pick that we did not mention is something that they should get rid of is what they've
Mhm.
chosen to get rid of the Olrun taken away from Joe. Not gonna be able to pilot that again, and then they will just ban the Pele away. Maybe not something Voltcha wants again on their side, and they certainly do not want to give it over to Eclipse. Well, on the other side of Clips, just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sticking to their guns. Going to ban away the Chernobog and the Freya. Might see the Charon ban again as Stormcallers make sure that at least the Ganesh from game one doesn't make it through either.
Yeah, I think good bans. I think the Terra is kind of got me scratching my head, but I think it's a nice throwaway ban because now Stormcallers they they pick one OP god. It's also one of Hard Killer's go tos is the Terra, so I think it's a good throwaway because now you've still got Set open, which we didn't see last game, but is a super strong god. You've still got Amaterasu open. You still got Athena open. You sort of got a hard first pick and an easy a second too if you're Eclipse.
Yeah, there's a lot left open like this
Mhm.
Raijin. That will be the hard decision, as you mentioned there. Locked in for Huntor, who looked so good on the Agni. I am excited to see what he's able to do with this Raijin, who just feels so good right now. But as you mentioned, Eclipse have set it up where they're going to get impactful pick
Face the
number
crushing
2 and 3, and the
Mhm.
set will be the first one locked in. And this is, I mean, he's an assassin, right? So I feel
Mhm.
like it's natural to think he's going to go into the jungle. But this probably isn't a jungle pick, correct?
No, this is probably a set mid. That's where we've seen him sort of dominate the most. But the great thing about set is that he can go mid lane, he can go jungle. We've seen success in solo in the past. Maybe not like right now. But it's something you could bring out that could really sort of spice up your draft. And he'll, if you build him full damage, he'll do the same things. So that's what's so hard to deal with about set in picks and bans. And when you get in game, it gets even worse. 'Cause he's just gonna run at you.
Well, I know you're a Charon hater, but it seems like Eclipse are not Charon haters. They'll lock that in for themselves. And I mean, I gotta ask, why? What don't you like about Charon? I feel like he brings not traditional support things, but he brings a lot to these team fights. I love this god.
I think he's fun. You know, I don't hate Charon. It's just, I think he's the same as Atlas, where he's like a guardian with not a lot of CC and 4 damaging abilities that you can't play in solo. So it's like Atlas, once he was out for 2 months, everyone was like, "Oh, this god's bad. He does nothing. You can't do anything with him." But then everyone's on this Charon hype train, like he does anything different, and it really doesn't bring it. You know, Herwin, you know, his Smite Pro said he was bad, and then was top 2 in him. I don't know what the pros think about this god, but personally, I just think he's like slightly better Atlas right now, and we're not seeing him anymore for the same weaknesses that Charon already has.
Atlas and Charon, 2 of my favorite guardians. We might have to have words later here, Divine. I love those picks, but
They're great.
it will be the login paired up with the chalk for Eclipse. Going to bring that casual one pick back in. The Stormcallers, though, mixing it up. Naja and Kabroken locked in for them over there. I mean, is this cab going solo? Is it going support? Is it going jungle and Naja support? I feel like there's flexibility. Where do you expect things to go here?
I expect it to be Naja jungle, Cabra solo. I think Cabra does a really good job
to become the Jade Emperor.
I was gonna say in the set, if set goes in the solo lane, but I think with Shock locked in for casual, and I don't think the set even has a chance of going into solo. I think with Yu Huang, it actually might be going ADC, but you know, I never thought about Kabrak, and I think he's a really good job. Does a really good job of sort of shutting down offense and creating aggression.
Now is the time.
Well, with the Nike lock-in,
Mm-hmm.
I'm now wondering if this is a Kabrak in the solo lane or if it is support. And as you just mentioned, the Yu Huang kind of puts the set into an interesting position. We could see, I mean, we knew it was coming at some point, right? We could see some very strange off thing picks here. But I'm excited to see where these things end up as the Apollo is hovered. I'm gonna get back
Please
to the
don't pick Apollo.
now it's the Rom. Yeah, Rom is the lock-in.
Okay.
He's been the same for a while. No need to talk about that. I want to focus on this Yu Huang because he is, without a doubt, one of my favorite mages right now. I feel like he does everything you want a mid laner to do. He's so safe. But I didn't expect it because we had the set locked in, the 2 very different play styles. I mean, do you like seeing the Yu Huang here with what Eclipse have locked in?
I like seeing the Yu Huang. I don't like seeing it against Kabrak and Naja. I think those are gods that he actually struggles against. You can't root Kabrakin when he's doing his 1. So it's sort of, you have to use your 3 if he's running at you, and then if you land in your 3, it's a really easy to ult you and keep you in place for a long period of time. And Naja sashes you from so far away that essentially does the same thing of running you down pretty easily. But I think Yu Huang, I think if you bait out abilities like those, you make it really easy for set Artemis to just jump on the rest of your team. So I don't think it's, you know, it's all curtains, but I think it's he might struggle. He might walk so the rest of his team can run. Essentially, is what I'm seeing here.
Well, speaking of the Artemis, that is the final lock-in for Eclipse, going to go in the hands of Cookie Joe. And I mean, this pick's been slightly on the rise in a few different ways. I've seen, you know, ability builds, I've seen crit builds, I've seen shred builds. You know, before we jump into game 2, just quickly, what do you expect from this Artemis? Do you like it here?
I like Artemis. I've never liked the damage build. I'm a big Artemis damage hate. I just hate everything, I guess. But I think Artemis, you should just build like the standard attack speed and pen, or attack speed and crit build, and it'll do fine. But we'll see. I think it's a really strong pick regardless of what you do, just because of the ultimate and the amount of damage, you know, in kit. Insanely good stim. I think Artemis brings a lot to the table regardless of what you're building. So I'm excited to see what they do here.
Well, let's say we just find out and hop into game 2 of the semifinals matchup between the Stormcallers and Eclipse here in the Divine Division. Coming at you in just a second. Welcome into game 2, everybody. I am still DoctahShru, joined by the DivineApe, our resident hater here, I guess it would seem, based on a lot of these locks-ins. And I mean, I'm gonna ask you the hard question again. Do you feel like Eclipse have drafted enough to get the, like, you know, the 2-0 here over the Stormcallers, or do you hate Charon and Artemis ability enough to give it to Stormcallers?
I actually really like the Eclipse draft here, which is exact opposite of what I was thinking about the gods. I love Smite, by the way. I'm not just like a big hater. I feel like I was talking bad about a lot of stuff that I don't like, but I think the set is it would be my number 3 best god in the game, even ahead of Raijin. So I think that's something that I think the Eclipse draft brings that I really like. I think Yu Huang might struggle into OLKxHardKiller, like I was talking about on the desk, but I think if he's the focus and Artemis and Set get to run free and free cast, it doesn't matter what they build, it doesn't matter how they play, they're going to run you down and win the game for Eclipse, which Eclipse have shown that they could be as cohesive as, you know, whatever you think is the best team right now, and that they can execute on their game plan. So I think with their draft the way it is into Stormcallers, if they just play like they've been playing, it should be a 2-0.
Well, I will say, you know, Low Life got his recipe right off the bat here,
Sure
picking up
did.
Bows. So great, you know, just a bonus over what last game was. So maybe feeling even more confident if you're a fan of Eclipse, as the first couple minutes of the game here get underway. Again, it's Voltcha with an early rotation over to left to help secure that shield buff. And again, we see YeetOnDaNaeNae heading towards the solo lane, but Nike, not as easy of a gank as the Amaterasu was in game 1. Still gonna look towards it a little bit. The sash is off the mark. Up down actually from Rizzler, who's looking for something but takes so much damage. Just a little bit more is all that's needed. Actually, the tower shot allows the Rizzler to get first blood for himself. Just barely not enough damage. That has got to feel awful if you're Voltcha.
Yeah, especially because you know, with the amount of health that, you know, Rizzler's on right now, if he just hits the sash at the beginning of the fight, that's a dead Rizzler. You never take a tower shot, and you know, you get your first blood, and you sort of get the wheels on the right track for a good game 2 comeback. But just unfortunate start to the game from Stormcallers, and it's really rough to go down, especially to some of Yu Huang, who I thought really struggled against the Stormcallers comp.
Yeah, that's gotta feel good on the other side if you are Rizzler, because as you said, there are some unfortunate matchups for this Yu Huang. So being able to just, you know, get that little extra golden hand, maybe build yourself a nice little cushion is gonna feel good. Cairo getting aggressive in the 1v2 is unable to strip away that blue buff, but looks confident on this Nike and is able to just get so much more aggressive here in the early game because of the pick, actually the one getting all the pressure onto TheCasualOne, even though he's the one piloting the chalk.
Yeah, Nike's clears is really good. I wasn't actually expecting it to be better than Shock's, but it doesn't surprise me that they're out clearing and out pressuring. You know, Ren just makes clearing the wave so easy nowadays. You just group the wave, you cleave autos, and then you don't even need to use your one, but you can. And Shock sort of struggles in any matchup where he's getting out cleared and he has to choose between hitting you and the wave, sort of. So we didn't really get to talk about it on the desk, but I actually really like the matchup that Nike gets into Shock.
Especially with TheCasualOne going for a build that's been kind of popularized by some of the SPL solo laners as of late, heading into that Gauntlet of Thebes first item overall. What does that bring for solo laners? Because it seems like Cairo not interested. But on the other side, this is the second game in a row we've seen TheCasualOne head in that direction.
Thieves gives an insane amount of protections, you know, because you're always getting the aura. So as long as you stack it, it's really just a high prot, high health item. You know, if you really just think about you know what it provides for you once it's stacked. And if you get it early enough, you're gonna stack it, regardless whether tower gets a single minion kill. You can see one stack already on it in the casual one, or if you just hang out with your mid laner for a couple waves, they'll stack it up for you. It's really not a tough item to stack, and so if you just look at Thieves as a high protection item, you're like, oh, I should get this every game, and then it has the bonus of you give that protection to your teammates that are gonna be with you.
It just, to me, it feels so bad to stack up. You make good points that you can let the tower help. You can have your mid laner help as Rizzler's trying to help over in the solo lane here. Does not get the pullback. Good ult out of Kyra to make sure that no damage is going to come from that. But they're going to turn around the damage, forcing out a lot of mobility from YeetOnDaNaeNae. And Huntor has rotated over, and Huntor will get the first kill for the Stormcallers, putting Rizzler in the gray screen. At least getting something for the Stormcallers here, who do not want to fall at 2-0 against Eclipse.
That's got to feel good if you're Huntor. Last game he got 30 minutes in, without any kills, but he had like 20k damage or something like that. Just getting a nice early kill for him, getting to secure it. It's got to feel real good, especially, anytime there's a top tier god in the game and in your position, and you get it, it just feels good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it felt good for Voltcha to get the Pele. It feels good for Huntor to get this Raijin, and we're already seeing the effect of this up.
This speed buff didn't feel very good for Voltcha there. I was holding my breath. I don't know how that would have gone had Huntor not rotated over, but no harm, no foul. Everybody able to get their buffs. And I'm gonna disagree with what you just said, Divine. When there's a top tier god in my role, which happens to be mid, and it's like Raijin, I'm okay with. I like Raijin. If it's a god I'm not comfortable on, though, I just feel way more pressure to perform. We're gonna have to hold that thought, though, because there's a big fight erupting in the left lane. A lot of low health bars. The snipe's coming out. One more is not gonna be able to find it. One more auto, but can't find that either. And just a sliver of HP as YeetOnDaNaeNae will get the kill onto HardKiller. And now Huntor, though, has rotated over and will trade out that pick onto YeetOnDaNaeNae. GettinCawky is low, but has the roll to get underneath the tower, and Rizzler uses that self-banish to buy some space. They still want to take this fight. There's a lot of low health bars, and once again we rotate away from right and a solo kill happens. But over here in left, low life eats the sash, and Cookie cannot make it out of there. That's Voltcha picking up a kill. The self banish back available for Rizzler, who buys some space to get out, but low life could be throwing their life away again. Has the row of the boat and will make it out, and Rizzler actually turns it back. This is such a back and forth fight. YeetOnDaNaeNae has rotated back in after dying on the set, and Huntor will fall to Rizzler, who gets himself a double kill. GettinCawky will be able to survive, and that was just pure chaos. I don't even know what to say about that, except for, after all of that, 22 gold between these teams. What just happened?
We saw a classic Smite arena match. You see your friend die, you're like, I gotta help my friend, and then you die, and then your friend's like, I gotta help him, and then they die, and then sort of it's like a weird scrap back and forth. I think a lot of good and bad out of that. Really, to sum up the whole fight, they scrapped. I think it was a 2-for-2 trade. Gold is pretty even. Rizzler comes out on top. that's really how it goes. He secures himself a double kill, and sort of is gonna eventually. Riz is just going to be in a spot where he's so far ahead that the negative effects of this matchup aren't going to matter. You see another critical miss on the sash from Voltcha. I really hope for their sake that they are able to sort of like clean up the play, because I think if they hit the sash on a Charon towards the end of there, the trade can go in their favor. In another world. But yeah, I think we saw good and bad from both teams, and that's what you like to see. That's what's so exciting about Smite, is that everyone comes up on an even, and they're gonna do that again at some point.
Yeah, it's just constant entertainment, constant action coming out of games and of sets like this. Is exactly as you mentioned what you want for a semifinals. It's always entertaining and fun to see. And now we're approaching that 10-minute threshold, still very much in the early game here. Gold, as we've mentioned, very even. Experience, fairly even as well. Nobody with like a clear lead. But Cairo could be under a little bit of trouble. But Nike, I don't know why I was worried. This is a full held Nike. That's like one of the safest gods on the map right now. Stormcallers, though, they're going to start up this Gold Fury. And Eclipse are not very local. It seems like they're aware of it, grouping coming towards this area. But are they going to be able to do anything about it? Voltcha's on the zone, but Rizzler's here. Hunter dashes in aggressively. The Dueling Dragons comes out and gets a kill. The Fury has been dropped for the time being as Rizzler gets low, but Hunter is lower, and it's another double kill for the Yuhuang. GettinCawky has to go up into the sky to try and live. One more snipe, not going to find it, and is going to land in a world of trouble. Low Life will take away the triple kill that could have been for the Yuhuang, but that was exactly what Eclipse would have wanted. Yes, bait yourself on that Gold Fury. We'll take the fight, we'll take the kills, and we might just take the Gold Fury on the back end as well, unless Voltcha can do something about it.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Voltcha goes down instantly upon. I mean, I really hope HardKiller doesn't walk up to this, because I don't think it goes any different if he does. He's looking for the steal here.
He uses the ultimate, does do a lot of damage, but the Fury was not dropped, and HardKiller's taking a lot of damage. Hunter, though, does get one kill before HardKiller does end up falling. The beads having to be used from the Raijin here. Look at the damage he has on the YeetOnDaNaeNae, but it is enough, but it's not at the same time. That's more kills going both directions. Rizzler now the one under a lot of trouble, because guess who's here? Cairo rotates over and gets a pick for himself as well. Rizzler on the run has that self-banish, but it's not
Yeah, man, and Rizzler, he was really trying to turn that around there, which I guess Stormcallers get the Gold Fury. I thought it was really smart for Stormcallers to go for the gold initially after, you know, it was a 3-man rotation onto the Nike on the right side. We saw her leap away. Nike safe. We're not going to die. But as soon as Stormcallers see that, they go onto the Gold Fury, which I thought was a smart play. Eclipse immediately understand that they're probably going to do that and go over to the Gold Fury to respond. Get there, get a bunch of kills, start up the gold. Take a little too long to do it. You know, they try to kill HardKiller instead of just out-securing the Cabrakan with no ultimate. And then Stormcallers show back up, say, oh, you guys are all low from the last fight we had. Kill them all, wipe them, get the Gold Fury and leave, which, you know, sort of a misplay on both teams that sort of started like as something smart for Stormcallers, but I guess it ended. All Zelda ends well, and the ends justify the means, and the Stormcallers get the gold.
And they get a pick on to Joe as well, who was just trying to find some farm. Unfortunate for the Artemis there to end up dropping again for the 3rd time this game. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should just give it to the Stormcallers. They're just prophetic. They knew that it was going to be chaos, but it was going to work out in their favor. Some kills, a Gold Fury, another pick onto Joe. Maybe they just know exactly what they're doing.
No, I'm a hater. I give benefit of doubt to no one. No one. No, but I mean, I mean, both calls are really, you know, high level good calls. You know, you see multiple people on the right side, you go for gold. Hold that thought.
Whoa!
Deleted.
Where did he go?
I don't know. I couldn't tell if that was Set's damage or Rizzler's damage on the Yuhuang, but man, he just got straight up deleted, and it was insta death. You know, in the mid lane is Eclipse have sort of not let that loss of the Gold Fury and that fight over there get to them. They were back on just getting these picks, you know, and you see these lanes, and now the gold is only 500, 400 difference, you know, between Stormcallers and Eclipse. There's really no big lead on either side here.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to what you said earlier, I feel like that just means we're going to get yet another one of those back and forth scraps, because nothing's changed between these two teams, and they've shown with these comps they want to take these fights. Pyromancer will go the way of Eclipse, but YeetOnDaNaeNae does get the beads popped as he walks back up to grab that bomb, as well as Low Life's ultimate getting used there to make sure there's no further aggression onto the jungler of Eclipse. So at least a runic bomb in hand for Eclipse, even if they lose out on the beads, might allow them to maybe push something down after one of these scrappy back and forths.
Yeah, I think that's the best play for now. I think these scrappy back and forth, if you're Eclipse, you want them to stop happening, because I think Eclipse showed in game 1 that if they take a standard 5v5, they'll typically come out on top. And if you're Stormcallers, you want them to keep happening because, you know, in both areas in this game where it got scrappy, they sort of eventually came out slightly ahead. So I think you do your best as Stormcallers to sort of create those scrappy moments. You could also just sort of take those slight leads and win the standard 5v5. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what either team is sort of going to go for, you know, in terms of how they want to take the rest of the fights in this game. But, you know, I'm just excited to see how they, you know, sort of go about setting those things up. It looks like they're going to look for like this left side pressure, especially with Gold Fury coming up soon. So I think that's where our next maybe scrappy or maybe standard fight is going to happen.
Primal Fury does respawn on the map as you say that, and the clock ticks over to that 16-minute mark. Keep an eye on these junglers as Voltcha tries to get aggressive over on this left side, but gets so much damage. That boar absolutely chunks, and the autos from Artemis, even only at level 14, are not to be trifled with. Voltcha already very low and forced to retreat here, backing underneath that tier 1 tower. Could be the opening that Eclipse want to go for, and they will pull this Primal Fury, at least for the moment. YeetOnDaNaeNae is on the zone, but it's just HardKiller local for the time being. More members of Stormcallers are walking up, and it seems like Eclipse aren't serious about this Fury. They want the fight instead. They might just get it, as rushing forward now are the Stormcallers, and that's a lot of damage onto one up into the Windfire wheels. TheCasualOne takes a lot of damage, but is still alive for the moment, and the rest of Eclipse are here to turn around even more. YeetOnDaNaeNae's in between 4 and just doesn't seem to care because he knows the team is with him in the background. Joe will get the first kill of this engagement. HardKiller low, but will be able to make it out for the moment. Huntor falls. GettinCawky takes a lot of damage and has to get out of there, but Cairo, it's always Cairo, is able to at least turn one back around for the Stormcallers, and is still full health on this Nike, is able to just be a nuisance, and I don't think Eclipse can pull this Fury even after those picks.
No, Nike's had so many damaging abilities that it's so hard to out-secure. Grabbing the beacon and walking away is probably the best option for Eclipse. I think you saw Nene go do so well there. You know, did such a good job of forcing Huntor, you know, out of the fight, so that Raijin couldn't get the effectiveness that you want. And then everyone looks at them and they hit a perfect Aegis. It's probably like the most damage I've ever seen an Aegis, you know, absorb. you know, in one fight he had 4 people looking at him throwing abilities, and then with all that down, it just made it so easy for Eclipse to get in there. But you know, you had a full health Nike. They did have ultimate down, but you know, it's gonna take. That's harder to kill than the Gold Fury itself. I think just getting the beacon and walking away was the right play for Eclipse. Take your wins, and now they're slightly ahead, which is good because for them, because Stormcallers had like a 400 or 500 gold lead, but now Eclipse has sort of flipped it on its head, and they have about a 1k lead.
Pyro might be the real objective on the map. Forget the Gold Fury,
Yes.
the Pyromancer, any of that. Trying to kill this Nike is going to be a problem indeed. 3-1-1, level 17 so far is the solo laner of this Stormcaller squad. And I want to call our attention to the most recent item pickup for Hunter here. Looks like it could be going into a Breastplate of Valor, getting a little bit of physical defense online. There's something we saw a lot, you know, a little bit earlier in season 10. Do you like seeing it here for the Raijin?
I think so. I think if you knew you were gonna get it, I would have won it second instead of the Obshard. I don't think the Obshard was doing too much, you know, this early in the game. Anyways, I think if you flip those, I really like getting the Breastplate second, Obshard fourth. But I think it's totally fine. Artemis and Set are going to be doing. Artemis is going to do more damage later. Set is doing an incredible amount of damage now. So I do like getting the Breastplate. And if you look at the damage charts, you know, it was Artemis at number 2, or sorry, Set at number 2, Artemis at number 3. So really smart for the Raijin to, you know, just sort of realize they need defense, you know, and immediately buy it.
A lot of poke onto Voltcha there, but more importantly, that is beads forced on YeetOnDaNaeNae. Will not have that level of safety, that extra layer of safety, excuse me, for the next 145 seconds. So keep an eye on how this set positions during these upcoming scraps, these upcoming fights, as Chiro gets aggressive over on the left side of the map. That Primal Fury is still up, but Pyromancer also still up. Fire Giant still up now that we're 20 minutes into the game. There's lots of options for these teams, but it seems like the left side is the prioritization for both as we put on our tap shoes, but this time for maybe some dancing around the Gold Fury, as both of these solo laners are getting looked at. Hunter does a lot of damage with those Taiko drums, but that's a 5-man silence and knockup, and TheCasualOne's still alive for the moment, gets taken up into the Windfire Wheels, is going to land in a lot of pain, actually will land in death as Voltcha gets that kill. But there's a lot of damage coming out from the other side. Rizzler is here to get some of that Yu Huang action going as well, but YeetOnDaNaeNae will get one. It's answered back by Hunter, who will, or as Chiro falls as well, a double kill for YeetOnDaNaeNae. This set is absolutely swinging and might not be done yet. Thinks better of it, a little low on mana and won't jump into 3, but has Rizzler nearby. This could just be the Gold Fury call instead. He's up in a 2 for 2. Does anybody come, you know, really out ahead there?
Not really. If you want to argue like minor details, I would say killing solo jungle is a little better than killing solo support, just because supports are naturally going to be far behind. But I really don't think it gets that. I need 2-2 trade, very even, which is good for Stormcallers because they were 1k behind sort of, you know, about a minute or two ago when we were talking about gold. Now it's even. When you're behind in Smite, trades always favor the person that's behind, just because of the way bounties work and the way like XP works when you get those bounties. So good for Stormcallers. I think their game plan was good too. They wanted to sort of kill the TheCasualOne before the fight started. I didn't think they could do it, you know, with the shot as tanky as he is, and then he got that ult and the Pridwin shield off, and it made it look like really grim. But they did eventually get that kill, and they made it so that even if Eclipse won that fight, they weren't able to get the gold through it because their tanks were dead.
Nobody able to get much of anything at the moment. Pyromancer was briefly looked at, but it seems like it's just a battle for vision control around that pit. The Gold Fury isn't being looked at, but this beacon spawns, and this might be something that these teams are going to look to try and fight around, because we've seen plenty of fighting between these two squads here in Game 2. And of course, when I point that out, they don't fight. Beacon easily, without any issue, goes the way of Eclipse.
Yeah, the good old caster's curse.
Yeah.
You were ready for them to fight, and they were like, no, we're not. We're just going to take the beacon, we'll clear mid-wave, and we'll walk away. I mean, my guess is this next fight might be around the Pyromancer. You see them clearing out sentry wards over by it. You know, it looks like Eclipse might have looked to get it, but smarter than to back off. I think neither team wants to make a big mistake that can sort of push the game super far in the enemy's favor. As you see Kawky running with his tail between his legs, trying to get as far away from Set Artemis as he can.
It could have been trouble for multiple members because there's a rotation over as well. So should Eclipse wanted to take that fight, they could have been in trouble, just like they might be in the mid lane. Rizzler has to go up into the air, loses out on the beads, as well as Low Life's ultimate to make sure that they make it out of there safely. And no real picks coming out of that, but forcing a back, getting a TKO, a lot of times just as good as a kill, and it's allowing the Stormcallers to pull this Pyromancer, see if they can't quite find this objective. Both teams have been looking towards Taiko Drums, going to be used to make sure that it goes their way, and they will be able to get it, but they could be in a lot of trouble because Set is here, and YeetOnDaNaeNae does a lot of damage. The ults from the Kabrakan not going to be enough to slow down the Set too far, but Voltcha is relatively quick, but Rizzler will get the kill onto OLKxHardKiller, and so that will at least be a kill traded out for that Pyromancer. I don't know if Eclipse are going to be able to find any more actual kills, They might just take this tier 1 in mid to try and even things out even further. So bomb going the way of the Order side team as the Titans are marching down, but the kill and the tower going the way of Chaos.
And it looks like Eclipse are going to look for this Fire Giant. I mean, all of Stormcallers had to back off after that, and you have to kill on a hard killer. Definitely comes up big in the favor of Eclipse, but I don't know if they have enough to get fire, but they seem to think so, and it's already down to 25%, so it looks like it's almost as good as theirs.
Very low. Cairo is here, and it is not enough. That will be for the first Fire Giant of the game going the way of Eclipse, but can they make it out safely? Because here come the Stormcallers. Oh, they are the ones with the low health bars as well. Low life might be sacrificing their life once again to make sure the rest of the team can make it out, but Cairo doesn't want to let them out. Will not be able to chase down any further, and so Fire Giant around the waists of 4 members of Eclipse will be able to take that win home. And it's again, life of the support, unable to get that buff.
Doesn't need it. I mean, Charon does have 4 damaging abilities, so I actually think losing Fire Giant on him is slightly impactful, but it's really not a big deal when your set has it. Rizzler's been playing, Lights Out has it, you know, Joe has it on the Artemis. He's starting to get his damage really online, so I think you're happy giving it up on the Charon.
Primal Fury looks like it was going to be trying to be snuck away, but Eclipse are wise to it, and they will take it for themselves. And now the chase is on for more YeetOnDaNaeNae. Look at the damage this set has. He's absolutely deleting them, but he gets deleted. Caster cursed again, as YeetOnDaNaeNae will fall. Rizzler will at least answer back with 1. And now here comes the Artemis, who's reached towards this late game. Cairo, though, we're going to pick onto Rizzler as the snipes ring true from the Rama, and trying to turn around more damage as Cairo. He's leading the charge, and it is so hard for this Eclipse squad to deal with a single Nike. The disruption, the engage, the damage. Cairo is doing everything, and here comes Huntor to bring the final ticks of it, and Joe will end up falling. TheCasualOne on the run, getting pushed back now. This is disastrous for Eclipse. TheCasualOne surely falls here. Actually, the Pridwin shield again is huge and does turn around to pick onto Huntor. Might have been a reverse caster curse there, as this chalk is living for an eternity. Will end up falling to GettinCawky, and now low life on the Charon might be the next one to fall, but it's tanky, as you've mentioned on this pick, and it's, I don't know if trying to buy time for the reinforcements. It seemed like that might have been the play, but Stormcaller is going to back up again. What a scrappy fight. I'm just going to leave that to you. What happened there?
Set is really good right now. Like I said, third, and for my money, third best god in the game. But you see Nene sort of get a little too aggressive there. I think they overextended. They did get so many low health bars, so it looks so promising. And then Rizzler shows up, and he gets a pick off and makes it look even more promising. But then they're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, and Stormcallers sort of all show up. You got Chiron, who's unkillable on this Nike, you know, playing Lights Out, and there was nothing that could have helped them. You know, it looks so promising, and even if you look back as being in the fight, it looks promising for them. But you know, they really did overextend and gave Stormcallers that opening to sort of, you know, they get Fire Giant off of all of them. You know what I mean? It's completely out of the picture now, and in terms of momentum and morale, when you win a fight, you know, in any game, when the enemy team is ahead, you just feel so much better going into every other fight and the rest of the game, which has got to feel really good if you're Stormcallers, who are already on the back foot, already down a game. You know, I'm excited for what they do in the rest of the game.
Yeah, and when you consider that most of the time, a lot of players view the first Fire Giant of the game is the one to sweep the towers. As GettinCawky needs to be a little careful. Is surrounded by multiple members of Eclipse, but has the roll, uses the beads, and at least they're able to take that away from the Hunter, who will be able to walk away safely. But look at all the towers still standing on the Stormcaller side. That first Fire Giant accomplished not a whole lot. This Pyromancer will go the way of Eclipse and will pick up a Runic Bong for themselves. But that, I think I agree. I feel like that's got to just feel great if you are the Stormcallers. And it looks like these teams wanting to scrap again, but nothing's up yet. Fire Giants still got 30 seconds. They can afford to wait.
Yeah, they can afford the wait. I mean, Beacon's spawning pretty soon. It looks like GettinCawky might walk over and try to sneak that, but Eclipse is privy to it. They're sending people over, and GettinCawky might be a little too far ahead. Might be getting a little too cocky there. He's got to back off. It looks like Eclipse might just take the Beacon.
This game is still fairly close. Oh, just ticking over to the 30-minute mark. Now, less than 3,000 gold between these two teams at this point in the game. Doesn't mean too much. Is still obviously a lead for Eclipse, but not where you're feeling like you're unable to fight into them by any means. And now that we have crossed that 30-minute threshold, once again, Fire Giant is enhanced. Going to be all the more important for both of these squads. But for the moment, Eclipse gonna look towards this Primal Fury, and we'll be able to get it without any contention because, again, it's a trade fire for Fury, but this time it's Stormcallers the one on the Fire Giant. And there are members of Eclipse, though, that are aware of it. Here comes the Charon ult to get some fears away and slow down this burn, but Fire Giant is getting low. It will be leashed and start ticking back up above half HP. Stormcallers tried to sneak it away, but actually, I mean, in Eclipse, they're going to pick it back up before it is able to fully heal. Blink in from Cairo just to try and suss things out, but no members left in there from Eclipse, and YeetOnDaNaeNae will get the first kill of this engagement onto GettinCawky. And now the fight kicks off properly as Nene is still swinging right now. Gets himself a double kill, but Cairo will shut him down before he can get too much further ahead. Rizzler does pick up one, and Cairo is just unkillable on this Nike, though as I say that, gets very low, able to walk away. So I guess point still stands, unkillable. But again, scrappy back and forth fight, but it's a 1 for 3, and Eclipse starting up this Fire Giant.
And I said earlier that I don't give benefit of the doubt of anyone. I think I want to believe that Eclipse baited out Stormcallers going for that Fire Giant. I think they went to Primal Fury, and they were so ready. They already had TheCasualOne and Nene over by the fire to contest. I think they knew that Stormcallers would go for the fire there, similar to what they did in Game 1, and they were so ready to just stop them. They get themselves the kill on Cairo, who's trying to get everything he can to contest, but it's just him by himself. You know, Huntor can't even get in there, and they get themselves the fire. I want to say they baited that out, and they sort of made Stormcallers make that choice again.
That's very possible. I mean, it did look very pre-planned, and it worked out in their favor extremely well. As you mentioned, Fire Giant picked up there by Eclipse. Unfortunately, not going to be around the waist of YeetOnDaNaeNae, but it's on the waist of all 4 other members of the team. They weren't able to do much with their first Fire Giant, but now this one's enhanced. Their gold lead has extended to right around the 7,000 or so mark. I mean, if you're the Stormcallers here, are you defending tier 2s? Are you just letting them have everything but Phoenixes? What's the play here?
I like soft defending. Smite has, everyone in Smite has their own definition of what a soft defend is. In my opinion, what a soft defend is the goal of a soft defend is to give up the tower if they commit enough resources to get the tower. If you're soft defending and you see 5 people, you leave the tower and you go to your Phoenix. If you're soft defending, you see 1 or 2 people, then you're like, I'm not gonna let this 1 or 2 people take the tower by themselves. I want them to actually commit resources. That's how I see soft defending. So that's what I would say. I would say you soft defend the T2s, but you can see Eclipse. They're doing due diligence. They're all grouped up. Walk into your Phoenixes.
I'm pretty sure in the ranked games I play, soft defending to teammates means die at the tier 1 in front of the tier 2 and then get mad. I thought that's what soft defending was.
Yeah, you're supposed to be with them when they die in the tier 1. That's what soft defending is in ranked. But yeah, it looks like Eclipse they're gonna walk around as 5, get all the towers. You really can't afford to take a fight into them with EFG. You really have to force them to take a fight under these Phoenixes if you're Stormcallers. Which you can do. You have damage from Raijin, you have a lot of lockdown from Kraken if someone walks into these Phoenixes. And you have Chiron who's been playing really well, and you know, it's really tough to kill even with this fire.
Well, it seems like they're not going to use the Phoenix at all. Into the backline goes Cairo and Voltcha. In the front line, though, it doesn't matter. Not enough damage. Voltcha will get the kill onto Joe, and they're looking for more. Rizzler has to self-banish to make it out here, and a good jukes coming out of the TheCasualOne to get out that ult. And here is the set. YeetOnDaNaeNae doing so much damage to Huntor. Not quite enough to get the kill, but Low Life is there to make sure it goes their way. GettinCawky, though, in the back takes out the Yu Huang. Cairo is low, but has to jump over the wall to get away from this fight. That is 2 Fire Giant buffs taken off of members of Eclipse. So you might say good defense. GettinCawky on a mission will end up backing, and I assume this will just be Eclipse taking this last tier 2 tower before resetting. I don't know. After this game, I'm gonna take back my prediction. I don't know what they're doing.
It seems like every time these two teams are even, Eclipse comes out ahead, and every time Eclipse is mega ahead, Stormcallers come on top. It's like they're like Rocky Balboa. They can only win on the back foot for some reason. It's like, it's so odd to watch, and even like look back and think, it's like I don't even know what, you know, it's not like they're doing anything like different. Like Chiron has a beautiful initiation on the Eclipse, but they've got 5 there with EFG. It should have just been like a full commit, but you know, they do such a good job of, you know, committing to their target and killing them. It just makes it an easy win for the Stormcallers. Which, if they can figure out what they're doing right and then bring it to a team fight where both teams are even, it should just be free for them.
I'm sorry, did you see that skewer did half GettinCawky's health bar on its own? I mean,
really good. He's really good right now. I feel like people, I don't like, we don't see enough set because people are afraid of like how mechanically tough, you know, people say he is. That guy hit 2-1. That was it. Half his health is gone. Please play set. He's really good right now. As Nene, you can see, is putting on a huge performance. I don't know if you guys caught that. He just popped the 3K pot, which means he's going to be doing even more, you know, if he hits that 2-1 combo onto someone, you know, around this fire that's spawning soon. And, you know, if you're Stormcallers and you see GettinCawky's health literally go down 50%, you know, from incredibly far away where you couldn't even see the set, this is not a fight you want to walk up to. This is something that's really scary. You have to really position yourselves correctly and really sort of bait out a ton of stuff from Eclipse before you want to go in here.
This is a big moment for not only this game, but for this set as a whole. This is still a semifinals match, in case you've forgotten. Both of these teams are going to be looking to try and make things work out for them right here and right now. A lot of balls getting expended, and Voltcha's health bar is getting depleted. YeetOnDaNaeNae gets hit with a fear as he tries to dive in, but has another good Aegis to buy some time, but it's not enough. Huntor will get a huge pick, but Rizzler gets one right back in response. And that was a good stun from HardKiller to make sure the chase could not continue too much further. Joe will get the credit for the kill onto the support there. Stormcallers drop 2 and are sent packing, but at least the set that we've been talking up for the past couple minutes is down and will not get the benefit of this EFG.
Yeah, which you know, does suck obviously for the set that he's not getting the benefit of the EFG, but the rest of Eclipse get it. You know, they trade out 2 for 1 for the set. I think Nene's doing a fine job on the set, doing a ton of damage before they die. You know, they sort of are all ending every fight. Hold that thought, his Stormcallers are a little too far up here. Looks like Rising is gonna die as well in the Phoenix, and you know, Eclipse sort of ran away with the game there. They get EFG, they get the middle Phoenix, and they're walking around and they're gonna end the game. There's nothing Stormcallers can do. I think they got a little overzealous, and Eclipse are gonna kill Voltcha too, and oh, I don't think Chiron can do anything to sort of stop this Titan from dying. Just kill the Titan voice is going to be a lot easier to kill than the Nike is. And Eclipse are going to take this and move on to the semifinals.
That's just how it goes in Smite these days. One fight that late into the game and it all just falls apart for the Stormcallers. They had a good moments in that game, but it seems like Eclipse grouped up, got the job done, and just ran it down there at the end. So congrats to them. They get to move on to the finals, but I don't know if I want to say fully congrats, because as we mentioned at the top here, they have to take on the Kingslayers, who have not dropped a single game. That is going to be a hard task in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, we did see a lot of great things from Eclipse today. I think even, like if they get gods like the set, if they draft like they have been and play with the cohesion they have been playing with, I think we can see them beat the Kingslayers, but it's gonna be so tough because there's no you can't study something that hasn't been done yet. You know what I mean? Tough to come up with a game plan to beat the Kingslayers, but I think Eclipse obviously have shown that they have the best chance of doing it.
Yeah, they looked so good in that set. I feel like we have to talk about Rizzler on this Yu Huang, who just, 12, 4, and 12 might have had, ended up with more damage than YeetOnDaNaeNae's set, and just played that mid pick to such perfection, especially going up against a god like Raijin piloted by Huntor. That's just such a feat to be able to play it that way.
Yeah, I think, even from the start of that game, you saw Rizzler sort of like take over from the very first second. You saw, Voltcha get a little too aggressive and Rizzler take full advantage of it, get his early kill, and you really never saw him look back since then, ending 12, 4, and 12. Really just played lights out. And that's what he's going to need to beat the Kingslayers next week.
100%. On the other side, Stormcallers had very good moments. Cairo just looked unbelievable on that Nike, and their season's not done yet. They still have the third place matchup to go up into the future, and so they're still going to need to keep this type of form, because I feel like while they might have gotten beaten by Eclipse, they still played great and can definitely kind of hold their own in that third place match.
Yeah, I think the third place match will be up against Seismic Shockwaves. So that's going to be an exciting one to watch. Definitely don't want to miss that if you're an STL fan. And I think Stormcallers show that they have a lot of good stuff in the kit. I just think Eclipse just outplay them a little better in most of their engagements, and that's really what sort of made Eclipse come out on top here.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. We're going to see Eclipse in the finals against the Kingslayers here in the Divine Division. I have been DoctahShru, joined by DivineApe with the ever wonderful Nooblet on production. Thanks again for hanging out with us tonight, and we will see you all in the next one. Peace.